after that is really usually called dwelling extension. It's the things that essentially aren't attached to the home. If you have a deck, a fence, a detached garage, a shed, those types of things. Most policies actually, it's just a percentage-based thing. So whatever we're insuring your home for, structurally, a percentage, and a common percentage is 10%.
Okay.
So 10% of that we're going to give you automatically for dwelling extension. Now, if you have a nice, if you've got acreage and you have a nice big pole barn in the backyard, we're probably going to want to cover it for more than 10%. 10% may not be enough, but 10% is in most policies is what's offered as a baseline, but that can be increased. Okay.
So for instance, if you got the normal detached garage on your Berkeley bungalow,
Sure.
probably 10% is going to adequately rebuild,
Sure.
a detached garage. But what you said there, if you're the guy with the pole barn and all the toys and so you're really important, Dreamer, to speak with your professional about your situation. And the great news is when we have professionals in studio here, they really sort of emphasize the fact that they know the questions you should be asking.
Sure.
Nobody's an expert at everything. I wouldn't necessarily, think it through every step of the way. So I appreciate, pointing out the dwelling extension. We talk dwelling coverage and dwelling extension. And if you have extra stuff, let's talk about that, right?
Absolutely. And it's amazing, Paul and Tina, we have all these clients. We reach out for every client on usually an annualized basis, invite them in for review.
Good.
When you write your policy with us, we try to get you in the first couple of weeks to just make sure you understand your policy. And I would say 75% of the people out there, they turn down that review.
Yeah.
And you try to get them in multiple times, and they continually say no. But that's why it is so important, because a lot of these things could be prevented, especially at time of loss, if they knew what they were covered for, what they weren't covered for, if there's riders and endorsements available that could cover them for some of these situations.
Well, plus you've probably something's changed in your home. Like you said, you may have upgraded or something like that you didn't have originally. So
you're listening to Michigan Real Talk here on 92.7 FM, AM 1400, The Patriot. We're talking
with Robert Peterson Insurance Agency, Inc.
Yeah, I didn't want to get the company name wrong. Thanks. Robert Peterson Insurance Company, Inc.
Insurance Agency.
Insurance Agency. But the importance here, Rob, of recognizing that there's more to this, it's important to own your dream, as in take personal responsibility for it, as in understand your insurance policy. A week like that now, everybody wants to know, oh my gosh, what's in my policy as it relates to water damage. And American Dreamer, we're going to be talking about that a little bit more later, about water issues. But like you just said, take up that professional's offer to do a review, initial review and annual review, to make sure you understand your situation.
Sure. And kind of segueing into the next part of the policy is loss of use. And that's something that if the home is uninhabitable, there is typically coverage under your insurance policy to kind of make you whole. And essentially what usually happens is they look at what your existing cost of living is, and then now what is it because you're displaced. And what is that gap? So let's say your normal cost of living is $3,000 a month, and now it's $5,000 a month because you're in a hotel, you're eating out, whatever the case may be. And that $2,000 gap may be covered by your insurance policy.
Right.
So that's a good thing to try to understand as well. And it's all situational. It's based on the circumstances, but talk to your agent and see.
Well, let me tell you one, Rob. You don't know these guys. Neighbors of mine went away up north for a week. Typical Michigan thing to do. Came home, found out the toilet tank in their home had somehow cracked and began spilling water into their little brick ranch over in Royal Oak. For an entire week it ran. By the time they got home, the basement was full of water. Talk about loss of use there. And they spent months in what are they, Residence Inn or something to work all that out. So all of these points matter. Understand your policy, cover your assets, cover your assets. What else you got?
Personal property is a big thing. People have those questions a lot about, my contents in the home, what's covered, what's not covered. Again, it's most insurance companies, it's a percentage of whatever we're covering the dwelling for. A common percentage is 75%. So that is your baseline is 75%. You can get more coverage than that, but that's your baseline is 75%. And that basically what I always tell people, take your roof off your home, flip it over, shake it. Everything that falls out, that's your personal property.
Right.
Anything that's attached to the structure is part of the dwelling itself. Okay. So, and we'll get into the water question a little bit later, but water is tricky, and there's some types of water damage that personal property is not covered. So that's one of the nuances of a policy that needs to, be understood by people.
Do you want to do things like take pictures of what you have and things like that, not just go with the 75% too, right?
Yeah, you gotta document your personal property,
Sure.
right? This is part of this discussion.
Absolutely. It's always good to have pictures or a video or inventory,
Yeah.
if you will. And if you don't, when you're taking the stuff out in the loss, you can inventory it at that point in time, which always helps too.
On the front
Sure.
lawn there when you're taking
right.
pictures.
Sure. Yep.
Folks, you're listening to Michigan Real Talk here on 92.7 FM, AM 1400. We're talking about your American dream and the importance of having adequate insurance. As you build that dream, cover your assets, man, cover your assets. We'll be right back to talk more, especially this week, including these water damage issues.